What is up, everybody? My name is Garrett. Welcome back to another video. Today we're going to talk about whether or not you should become a pilot in 2020. So before we get into today's video, for those of you who are new to the channel, welcome. If you could do me a huge favor, hit that subscribe button, and while you're down there, go ahead and make that thumbs up button go blue. It'd be pretty cool. So just to give a little background about myself for those of you who are new, and for those that have been around for a little bit, bear with me. I am an airline captain for a regional airline right now. I've been at this regional for about 3.5 years. And although a lot of people will say you haven't been through tough times, in fact, you've been through only great times, and that is nothing but the truth. When I came into the industry, it was just absolutely peaking. It was wonderful. The pilot shortage was real. Pilot bonuses and pilot pay are at all-time high, and they currently still are right now, but unfortunately that's probably going to change here in the near future. But that's not what I really want to talk about today. That'll be a completely separate video of pilot pay and how it will affect your income in the future. But I do want to talk about kind of this transition period that we're going through right now. And for those of you who are saying, you haven't seen really any bad times at all. My father is currently an airline pilot right now. He's been with the same airline for the past 35 plus, almost 36 years, I believe. And he's been through 9/11, he's been through recessions, he's seen it all. And me growing up and being around that, I've seen the hard times and the struggles. I remember after 9/11, my father lost all of his retirement. We had to sell the house. He took a 53% pay cut. These were rough times. And for me, thankfully, I had such a strong and caring father. He still gave me and my brother basically the world. He would sacrifice everything for him. He was making good money at the time, but it took 10 years, just a couple years ago, that he finally got that pay raise that the airlines have been promising after 9/11. Now, I personally don't think pay is going to be cut nearly as drastic as it was post 9/11, because the fears of flying were so intense then. Versus, I think that once this virus is gone, I think you'll see airline travel pick up significantly. Now, it just comes into play whether people have money to travel. Unfortunately, unemployment is almost at an all-time high. They're approaching Great Depression numbers, which is terrifying. But from what I can tell, people are still spending money. The economy is still going round and round, even though it's very volatile. It looks like travel is kind of picking up. I know American just reported they had the biggest passenger increase over this past July 4th weekend that they've had since COVID started. So things, I believe, are, I can't say turning around, because I truly believe that they're not yet. But I do believe things will get better. I think it'll take a couple of years, but from what I can tell, we are going to go through kind of a rough time, and that's what I want to get into right now. So I mentioned when I came into the airline industry 3.5 years ago that we were not even peaking. I just hit the wave absolutely perfect. Pilot bonuses, new hire bonuses were just starting to get pretty big. Regional pay is like quadruple what it used to be 5 years ago. So this is all really, really good news. And I believe, in fact, I know it's never going to go back to what it was. Regional pilots making $20 an hour, it's not going to go back to there. There's no way. It's not possible, because the pilot shortage wasn't even close to peaking. American Airlines was predicting almost 1,000 retirees every single year. In the United States, we have a mandatory retirement age of 65 years old. No one's getting younger, obviously. So they're approaching that 65 years of age, and they're going to have to retire. So thankfully, that'll help with what's going on in the world right now, where, unfortunately, pilots are getting let go. And I can only speak for here in the United States. I know some countries have it way worse. I know tens of thousands of pilots have been let go all around the world. Unfortunately, Delta did release a statement here just a few days ago that beginning October 1st, they notified pilots that around 2,500 pilots are going to be furloughed. All the other airlines haven't followed up yet on that. Hopefully they won't have to. Hopefully this furlough doesn't even take place. There's a possibility that it couldn't take place, but a part of the stimulus package that these big major carriers did take from the government. They have to notify these employees at least 90 days in advance that they are being furloughed. So that's why they're getting those letters now for October 1 furlough date. So like I said, anything could change. Hopefully they won't be let go, but there is a good chance that that will happen. Now for American Airlines, I believe there are negotiations going on, whether they might furlough people, they might take pay cuts, and I'm sure the same is going on at United. So what does this mean for the pilot shortage? Like I said, American Airlines alone was approaching almost 900 plus, even 1,000 pilots a year in the next few years that were gonna have to retire. And they were short-staffed. They were gonna be short-staffed. That's why these regionals have to offer all these massive signing bonuses. You see these like $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 signing bonuses, which is more than regionals used to make an entire year. So that's, you know, that's crazy to see that those signing bonuses are as big as what someone's annual salary used to be just 5-6 years ago at a regional airline. So this pilot shortage, although I don't believe it's over, it's just on hold. Those people are still going to retire. These airlines are still going to grow. They will grow. It might take 2-3 years before they get back to the same size that they were prior to COVID. You know, you've seen the pictures of all the American Airlines planes parked up in Pittsburgh, taking up an entire runway. They're parked all over the place. Same with Delta. I just saw a letter the other day of a pilot writing on a Delta plane that they parked out in the desert, you know, saying, hey, these are rough times. It was just so sad. Like, these are rough times. Hopefully this airplane comes back out of the desert and hopefully you are seeing better times. Just basically to the next pilot that hopefully gets to fly that aircraft and it's not sitting in the desert to die. So hopefully things will get better, but I know, I feel almost certain in the next 2 to 3 years, it feels like a good solid time frame of when things will start picking up very aggressively. Hopefully by next year, they're already predicting around 30% less than the previous year, which it happens. If you go back and look at charts, passengers traveling over time increases year after year after year. And when you do have those 07, 08 recessions or after 9/11, you see that there is, you know, a plateau or even potentially a dip for the next year. But what does it do over time? It continues to go up, as well as revenue. Airlines were making the most amount of money they've ever made. And now it's kind of just going downhill right now. But if you go look at those charts, what do? Over time, you have these tiny step backs, but then it's 1 step back and 5, 6, 7, 8 steps forward. So things will get better. So what does this mean for the pilots who are in training right now, or even for someone who is thinking about becoming a pilot? So for those of you at ground zero, maybe you're pondering thinking of going to a flight school. The thought of a pilot sounds awesome. Maybe you haven't really pursued it yet, but you're thinking about it. Maybe you are committed to a flight school. You're committed to an aeronautical university. You put that down payment on a loan to start flight training. Whatever it might be, I still think you're in a really, really good spot. It's gonna take you 2-3 plus years to get your licenses. You gotta get your private, your instrument, your commercial single, commercial multi, and then you gotta get your 1,500 hours of flight time. How are you gonna do that? Most of the people go the flight instructor route. So then you gotta get your CFI, possibly your II, your MEI, and then you've gotta build those flight hours. It's gonna take you quite some time. So 2 to 3 years, things are gonna be looking awesome again. I can almost guarantee it. So those people that are getting furloughed from the airlines right now, hopefully this is only a 6 to 12 month at most situation, or maybe they don't even get furloughed at all. Time will tell. Of course, this is just my perspective. I can't guarantee that people aren't going to lose their jobs because anything is possible. Hopefully this virus settles down, people wear their mask, they practice social distancing, and that's the only thing that I can preach is please spread the message, spread the awareness to just put your mask on. Don't go to bars right now. I know a lot of states were opening bars and now they're having to reverse stuff like that. So just be smart, because the smarter we are, the better off everyone is. Less people will lose their jobs, less people will die, and just the world would be a better place. So let's get past this thing and let's move on. So that's my little 2 cents about the virus. But I think that committing to a flight school right now is still a really, really good idea, because 2 to 3 years from now, everything will be probably in a great place. And I believe the pilot shortage will come back. It'll come back really strong, maybe not as strong as it was looking before, but I still think that the regionals especially are going to be desperate, because once these people that come back potentially from these furloughs at the majors, things are going to start heating up again, because people are still turning 65 years old, and you can't fly past 65 here in the United States at an airline. So for the people that are approaching their flight time, their 1,000 hours or their 1,500 hours, what are you going to do now? And this kind of comes into, if you're still looking at the airlines, maybe you could be a cargo pilot. Maybe you could go to the military. I know that sounds wild, but go fly for the Air Force, for the Army, you know, who knows? You could go fly for the military. By the time you get out, things could be absolutely amazing again. And that's also a good idea for the people who are just starting out. Go join the military here in the United States. They'll pay for all your flight training. You won't come out with those student loans, that massive flight training debt, which is something that I also want to talk about. You do come out potentially with a pretty lump sum of debt. Flight school training can cost anywhere from $75,000 to $100,000+, and that's tough to pay for. So that's where coming up with a plan B, have something in your back pocket just in case for times like this, because you're still gonna have to pay those loans. Some people have $1,000+ a month monthly payment on those flight training loans. Maybe they went to an aeronautical university and they've got $150,000+ in debt, which is scary. But that's just the world we live in, and it's always safe and smart to have a plan B. Times are tough right now, and I understand that. I hope, you know, who knows, I could be furloughed. You know, I haven't really flown. I've flown once or twice in the last 3 months, which is scary. It really is. You know, I do know people personally that are overseas that have lost their job as a pilot, and my condolences go out to everyone. You know, times will get better. You know, history shows it. Like I said before, if you just look at these charts, taking that one step back sometimes is what needed to just slingshot forward, you know, together and stronger than ever. So long story short, if you are looking to become a pilot in the year of 2020, I still think it is a phenomenal career. I wouldn't change it for the world, but it's definitely smart to have things in your back pocket, that plan B, or even sometimes that plan C for those overachievers. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you got any questions, I'm sure there will be questions, because I was kind of all over the place in this video. I gave a lot of opinions. Do your research. Like I said, you know, I've been a part of the aviation family for a long time with my grandfather, my uncle, my father. I've only been part of the airline industry for 3.5 years, but I feel like the knowledge that I've gained from just being in the family for a long time, I've seen what can happen in times like this, and I do know that things get better. It's just sometimes you go through a little rough patch to get to that next step. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Like I said, throw down in the comments if you got any questions. I'd love to hear y'all's input on being a pilot, where you are in your flight training, if you're still thinking about becoming a pilot. And until next time, we'll see you. Peace.